astronomers use these constellations, 12 in all, to predict the future, a practice which has passed on to a less scientific group called astrologers. Arrange your constellation identification cards so you can compare and locate these constellations. The word zodiac comes from the Greek word meaning animals. And as you might expect, most of the 12 constellations are named after some animal. The zodiac is an important subject for study because of its usefulness in interplanetary navigation. From every point in our solar system, the zodiac appears the same. We can plot a course safely through the asteroid belt and around all our neighboring planets using the zodiac as a guide. Beyond Pluto, the farthest planet in our solar system, the zodiac won't be much help, as we will be looking at it from a completely different angle. We'll almost certainly need a new set of star charts before traveling that far. The zodiac dates back at least 5,000 years when the ancient Sumerians first named these constellations. They started with Aries, meaning ram in Latin. It is one of the smaller constellations composed of 3 main stars forming a rather flat-looking triangle. From Aries, we travel to Taurus, Latin for the bull. It shouldn't be too difficult to make out the form of a bull in this constellation. The stars are relatively bright. In fact, one of its stars, Aldebaran, near the bull's neck, is over 100 times brighter and almost 40 times bigger than our own sun. Consider for a moment how big our sun is. If we were to open the sun and try to fill it with Earths, it would take 1 million globes to completely equal its size. Our travels through space will bring us to thousands of stars, even bigger than Aldebaran. Next, we travel into Gemini, the twins in Latin. As far back as the ancient Babylonians, the image of 2 twins standing side by side was recognized in this star group. Gemini made a name for itself in astronomical history when scientists studying the constellation discovered the planets Uranus and Pluto. On March 13, 1781, a British musician and amateur astronomer, Sir William Herschel, chanced upon what he realized could not have been another Gemini star. It must have been a planet. Astronomers called the newly discovered planet Uranus, after the god of the heavens. 149 years later to the day, astronomers working at the Lowell Observatory in Arizona discovered the planet Pluto, also in Gemini. On a clear night, try to identify this constellation and see if you can find any planets. Pluto, however, is much too small to be seen without a telescope. Very close to the feet of the Gemini twins is another constellation not in the zodiac, but very important, Orion the Hunter. You might be able to make out a club in his raised hand near Gemini. In the other hand, he holds a shield, and his belt is outlined by 3 bright stars all in a row. No other constellation has as many bright stars as this groupie. In Orion's left shoulder, Betelgeuse, 400 times bigger than the sun and over 3,000 times brighter, is considered a supergiant star. For such a star as Betelgeuse to form, vast amounts of dust particles and gas in space must combine. Eventually, the gas ignites in a continuous nuclear explosion. Man has actually witnessed the beginnings of a star deep in a part of Orion. Gemini is followed by the constellation Cancer, Latin for the crab. It is the faintest and most inconspicuous star group in the zodiac. Nevertheless, on a clear night, it still can be seen without a telescope. Leo is the easily recognized constellation with the Latin name for lion. In Greek mythology, Leo represents the lion slain by the great god Hercules. Regulus, the brightest star in this constellation, is more than 150 times brighter than our own sun. Let's continue our trip by again returning to the Big Dipper and following the curve of its handle to the main stars in the constellation of Virgo, the Virgin. Virgo represents the goddess of love, or the mother goddess in mythology. It is the second largest constellation in the sky, and an interesting one to travel through. Within its borders are thousands of galaxies. Astronomers estimate that there might be over 4,000 galaxies and countless stars within Virgo. Perhaps sometime in the future, you'll partake in the actual colonization of new galaxies. Imagine the preparations needed to provide for large groups of people traveling to distant planets. Consider the different problems you'd be faced with as leader of a future space colony as we journey to Libra, a zodiac constellation distinguished by 2 stars of similar brightness. If the stars were closer together, it would look exactly like Gemini. Most stars in this constellation, though, are relatively faint. The original shade given Libra is a matter of some debate. Libra means balance or scales in Latin, but it wasn't given that name until Roman times. Evidence shows that it was originally thought to be the claws of a neighboring constellation, Scorpius, the Scorpion. And the twin stars still keep their funny Arabic names, Zuben el-Ganubi and Zuben Escamali, meaning northern and southern claw. The constellation that looks most like its given name is Scorpius. A number of relatively bright stars outline its head, body, and tail. One star, Antares, a reddish star, is over 3,000 times brighter and 300 times bigger than our sun. It too is a supergiant star. After Scorpius, our starship journey takes us to Sagittarius, the Archer. Much study of this constellation was completed by Edward Emerson Bernard in 1884, who estimated many stars in this constellation to be nearly 2 million light years away from Earth. Greek mythology differs as to who this Archer really is. Some say he is Crotus, who lived on Mount Helicon, where he became the swiftest of hunters, and was later placed in the sky by Zeus. On a clear night, if you look at Sagittarius, you might notice a belt of white dust near the 4 stars that outline his body. This belt is the Milky Way galaxy, to which we on Earth belong. Like other galaxies, the Milky Way is composed of millions upon millions of stars, including our own sun. Scientists estimate that our galaxy is so large it would take 100,000 years traveling at the speed of light to cross it. Capricornus, our next stop, is rather inconspicuous. Located to the east of Sagittarius, this constellation was known to the ancients as the Goatfish. More recently, it has been called the Horned Goat. This is one of the most difficult of the constellations to make out, so when you're in command of your starship, you might want to use special light amplifiers to help see it. Let's continue now to Aquarius. To early stargazers, Aquarius was the image of a young man pouring water from an urn into the mouth of Pisces Austrinus, the southern fish constellation, just beneath Aquarius. To the ancient Sumerians, this was one of the most important constellations. Aquarius represented their sky god An, pouring life-giving water to Earth. They called it the Great Constellation. The last sign of the zodiac, Pisces, was thought to consist of 2 fish tied together by a knotted string or chain. This constellation fits into the zodiac between Aquarius and Aries. Try to learn the proper order of the zodiac signs. This will make space navigation simpler, since once you identify one of the signs, the rest will be easy to find. As you've seen, there's much to explore in this vast universe of ours, and as space cadets, you'll have the chance to expand the frontiers of scientific knowledge and to answer many questions that still remain a mystery. Is there an end to the vast sea of stars? What lies beyond the constellations we've visited? Are new planets and stars still being created? Right now, we're on the forefront of new discoveries. There's much to be learned about this fantastic universe of ours. Just turn on your intergalactic planetarium and embark on a passage through the boundless realms of space. Space represents the final frontier, and soon we'll be joining the team that unravels the intriguing mysteries of the limitless universe.